Ethan had once thought she was a good mother, until his daughter was looking for her on her deathbed, while she was buying tickets for her first love, and giving false testimony for him. Ethan hurried home, a worried look on his face. He dragged a suitcase with one hand and carried Stella's and Lily's favorite cupcakes in the other. He had been on a business trip for nearly half a month, and hadn't seen his family in a long time. Thinking of seeing Stella and Lily soon, his mood lightened. Stella, Lily, I am home. Ethan expected Lily to rush over and hug him, sweetly calling him Dad. However, he waited for a while, but there was no sound. Are they not home? That's not right. Lily is usually watching cartoons at this hour. Could have taken Lily out to play. An inexplicable unease settled in his heart. He picked up his phone and called his wife. Stella, where are you? I just got home and found you and Lily aren't here, Ethan asked anxiously. There was a sudden silence on Stella's end. It's nothing, we're out playing, we'll be back soon, reassured. His heart eased a bit, and he simply tidied up his luggage. But when he walked into Lily's room, he noticed some of her clothes and shoes were missing. Did put them all away. He felt a deep sense of confusion, but he was too tired. 2 weeks of business travel had drained his energy. He decided to rest first and ask Stella and Lily when they returned. When he woke up again, it was already dark. It was so late, they should be back, right? He got up and went out, only to find Stella sitting alone on the sofa. Stella, where's Lily? Why isn't she here? He looked around, not seeing his daughter, and felt a surge of anxiety. Why are you so anxious? I took the little girl to a friend's house yesterday, and she got so absorbed in playing that she didn't want to come back. She insisted on staying there, so I came back alone. Even when I went to pick her up today, she still wouldn't come back. Her words seemed perfectly normal, yet Ethan distinctly detected a hint of guilt in Stella's tone. Really? You're not lying to me? His suspicions weren't allayed. Instead, they grew stronger. Stella usually didn't like Lily and was very strict with her. How could Lily dare to throw a tantrum in front of Stella and say she didn't want to go home? Hearing this, Stella suddenly stood up, her face flushed with anger. Ethan, what do you mean? You suspect me, right? Are you afraid I'll sell her? If you're not comfortable, go find her yourself. Faced with Stella's accusation, Ethan felt utterly helpless. He did have some suspicions about her, but seeing her current state, he didn't dare ask any more questions. He could only pray that he would see Lily tomorrow. Lily had been a premature baby, always had poor health, and was often sick, and for some reason, Stella had never liked her. Ethan had showered her with double the love, protecting her as if she were the apple of his eye. Now that he hadn't seen her for over half a month, he truly missed her. Ethan, stop being so suspicious. That girl is full of tricks. She won't be at a disadvantage anywhere, especially not at my friend's house. What's there to worry about? Ethan had no choice but to temporarily believe Stella's words. Blake, how is Caleb? Is he having fun? That's good. But we need to pick that girl up. Ethan's back, and he needs to see her to feel at ease. We can send her over again next time. Just as Ethan got out of bed, he heard Stella on the phone. He instantly froze. Blake, Caleb. Stella meant that she had sent Lily to stay with Blake and Caleb, but was a super-male. Ethan trembled with rage. Just a month ago, when Stella first suggested sending Lily there, he had firmly refused. He never expected her to send Lily there while he was away. Stella, you sent Lily to Blake's house. Seeing his fury, Stella panicked and quickly hung up the phone. I am asking you, did you send Lily there? Don't you know that Caleb is a super-male? Lily's health is so poor. What if something happens to her? He couldn't control his emotions. The thought of his beloved daughter possibly enduring torture at that moment tore at his heart. Ethan, what are you raging about? What's wrong with being a super-male? Caleb is just a child. It's Lily's good fortune that he likes her. What could possibly happen? If he's so worried, go pick her up yourself right now. Why are you yelling at me? Stella showed no fear of him, yelling back self-righteously. He didn't want to talk to her anymore. He immediately grabbed his car keys and rushed out. He had to be quick. Every minute Lily spent in that house was another minute of danger. The dangers of a super-male were immense. He couldn't guarantee what kind of harm Caleb might inflict on Lily. However, when he arrived at Blake's house, he saw Blake about to leave, and in his arms, he held Lily, who was covered in blood. Blake naturally saw him too. His expression changed, and he tried to hide Lily, but had already seen her. He rushed forward and snatched Lily from Blake's arms. Looking at his dying daughter in his arms, he was so furious he felt like he was losing his mind, but he held it back. Nothing was more important than Lily's life and safety right now. In her current state, she had to be taken to the hospital. He rushed Lily to the hospital at the fastest speed he had ever moved in his life. He watched helplessly as Lily was wheeled into the operating room. He felt as though he had fallen into an ice cellar. So much blood, so many obvious wounds on her body. What exactly had Blake and Caleb done to Lily? Then he thought of Stella. It was she who had sent her own daughter into the devil's maw. He picked up his phone and called her. Stella, do you know how badly Lily is injured? She's still in the hospital, fighting for her life. Do you have any conscience? He yelled in a rage. Ethan, don't try to deceive me. Blake told me everything. That brat just accidentally fell down the stairs herself. He was about to take her to the hospital when he ran into you. Don't blame innocent people indiscriminately, and don't try to exaggerate her illness to gain sympathy from me. If she's not dying, then don't bother me. He stared blankly at his phone, utterly unable to imagine such malicious words coming from a mother's mouth. It turned out that her own daughter's life was worth less than a single lie from Blake. He suddenly felt powerless, looking at the tightly shut operating room door, and sank dejectedly to the floor. He silently prayed that nothing bad would happen to Lily. She was his life. Click. The operating room light went out. He scrambled to his feet, waiting for the doctor to emerge from the door. He stepped forward, filled with hope. However, what awaited him was devastating news. The doctor said Lily had multiple obvious external injuries, caused by beatings. But that wasn't the worst of it. His daughter, only 6 years old, had been sexually assaulted. Furthermore, the assault was extremely violent, resulting in internal tearing and a fractured pelvis. She might need to use a catheter bag for the rest of her life. He could hardly imagine such brutal methods being used to torment her to this extent. The patient is still not out of danger and needs to be transferred to the intensive care unit. She will be considered stable after 48 hours if no emergency arises. Hearing intensive care unit, his heart tightened. 48 hours. So long. Lily, be strong. Just hold on a little longer. He only had half an hour for visiting. Looking at his daughter lying quietly on the bed, covered in tubes, lifeless, his heart ached so much he could barely breathe. The instruments beside her beeped, like the call of death. She was only 6 years old. She was so young. Why did she have to endure such agonizing torment? As she was being tormented, he wondered if she thought, why did Mom send her here? Why isn't Dad coming to save her yet? Time quickly passed, and he reluctantly left. God knew how much he wanted to stay by Lily's side, to help her through it. He regretted it. He had known all along that Stella wanted to send Lily away to curry favor with Blake and Caleb, but he had still gone on his business trip. He never thought Stella could be so heartless as to send her own daughter into a tiger's den. Don't be afraid, Lily. Dad will definitely get revenge for you. Coming out of the hospital, he felt like a homeless wanderer, standing at the entrance. Passers-by hurried along. Anyone coming to a hospital likely carried some pain. His disheveled and distraught appearance didn't draw any attention. He thought for a moment and decided to go home to get some change of clothes. If made it through these 2 days safely, she would still be hospitalized. Bringing some daily necessities would be a good idea. When he returned home, he found Stella leisurely applying a face mask. The rage he had suppressed for so long erupted instantly. Stella, do you have any heart? Your own daughter is in the intensive care unit right now. Do you know how badly she's injured? She was sexually assaulted. Her internal organs are ruptured, and whether she'll survive is still unknown, yet he's not worried at all. He couldn't imagine how Stella could remain so calm. Stella looked disbelieving, even scoffing. Ethan, aren't you done with this charade? Intensive care, sexual assault, dying. Do you know how ridiculous that sounds? Go tell anyone else and see if they believe you. That brat can't hide her true colors. Huh. She's resorting to such despicable tactics. Who knows where she learned them? She's nowhere near as good as Caleb. In that moment, his heart turned to ashes. His own husband and dying daughter were worth less than her first love, and a child with no blood relation to her. It was truly laughable. He didn't mention Lily's injuries again. Stella wouldn't believe him anyway, and there was no need to say more. he just hoped she wouldn't regret it when she saw it for herself. He simply went back to the room to pack a few things, then headed back to the hospital. Before leaving, he told her, "Stella, you'd better watch your step." Unexpectedly, as soon as he arrived at the hospital, more terrible news awaited him. Lily's condition had worsened. She suddenly developed a high fever, and needed to be resuscitated again. Within a single day, he had waited outside the operating room twice. He prayed as he had before, hoping Lily would be safe. Perhaps too many people were making wishes, and the deities hadn't heard his prayers, or perhaps he had been too greedy. His wish remained unfulfilled. "We are truly sorry. We did everything we could." The doctor, looking tired and apologetic, spoke those cruel words to him. Lily was dead. His heart ached terribly, as if the pain had made it numb. His body couldn't react, and he collapsed to the floor, numb. When he woke up again, he found himself lying in a hospital bed. It turned out he had fainted from exhaustion and overwhelming shock, but he no longer cared about his own body. With gone, his world had crumbled. Thinking of Lily's death, he felt completely cold, his chest aching as if invisible beasts were tearing at him. Every limb endured unbearable agony. His body involuntarily trembled, his limbs convulsed, and he couldn't help but let out cries of pain. He had no thoughts, his mind utterly blank. If his heart weren't still beating, others might have thought he was dead. Lily's death felt as though it had taken his soul with her. He recalled the torment Lily had suffered before her death, the abuse, the sexual assault. He felt like a wild beast, ignited by rage in its despair. He couldn't give in to despair, though was gone. Her tormentors were still at large. He had to get revenge for her. "Stella, let me send you a surprise first. Will you feel even a hint of guilt when you receive Lily's death certificate from the hospital?" As he expected, a phone call came quickly. It was Stella. He slowly hung up. She persisted, undeterred. He only answered on the third call. "Ethan, what is the meaning of this? You're lying to me, and you're teaming up with the hospital to lie to me too. A death certificate. How could you even think of such a thing?" Hearing somewhat shattered voice, he smiled. He knew she was just bluffing. Deep down, she already believed it. "You want to know the truth? Why don't you come to the hospital and see for yourself?" "Stella, I told you, you'd better watch your step." The call was quickly disconnected. He knew she would come. "No, no. This is impossible. This isn't my daughter's body. You've made a mistake. My daughter isn't dead. She isn't. This isn't her. Ethan, you're lying to me, aren't you? You're lying to me." She could no longer hold back, screaming hoarsely. Overwhelming pain seemed to engulf her entirely. She had never been so broken before. He watched her tears fall one by one, splashing onto the cold, hard marble floor. Then, she covered her face with her hands and sobbed. He coldly watched her agony, feeling only a sense of satisfaction. In the past, if Stella shed even a single tear, he would have been frantic. But now, all his love for her had vanished. He could tolerate anything else. But when it came to Lily, he would absolutely not back down. Her actions showed that she was unworthy of his love, and also unworthy of Lily's love and dependence. "What are you doing, Ethan? Why are the police here? Why are you taking Lily's body? You're not allowed to touch her." Stella yelled and screamed, trying to stop the police. He couldn't watch anymore. He stepped forward and pulled her away. "What are you fussing about now? I called the police. I told you, Lily suffered torment before she died. The police need to take her for an autopsy." His intention was to make Stella calm down, but the result was that she became even more distraught. "What torment? What autopsy? Are you suspecting Blake and Caleb of doing this? Ethan, how can you still be so cruel? Lily is already dead. Won't you let innocent people off the hook?" Hearing this, his expression turned completely cold. Even after seeing Lily's body, Stella was still unconditionally protecting Blake and Caleb. Her own daughter's death was less important than two people with no blood relation. It was truly absurd. "Whether they are innocent or not isn't for me to decide, nor for you. The police will uncover the truth." After that, he firmly held her back, preventing her from any further extreme behavior. The police successfully took the body away. He knew that once an autopsy was performed, Lily's body would no longer be intact, but he had no choice. To bring the devils to justice, he had to do this. "Lily, you'll understand Dad, won't you, Ethan? If anything happens to Blake, I will never forgive you. How can you be so vicious? I shouldn't have married you in the first place. Stella looked at him with intense hatred, cursing at him. I regret marrying you too. Stella, let's get a divorce. After saying this, Stella froze. What did you say, Ethan? You want to divorce me? You actually dare to divorce me? How can you be so heartless? Are you even human? Aren't you always talking about divorce? And you've been constantly thinking about your first love, Blake. I've been lenient enough by not mentioning your infidelity. Stella, you've exhausted my patience. He closed his eyes, feeling utterly exhausted, not wanting to prolong the argument. He simply drove away. He entered Lily's room, and seeing the Kurumi plushie on the bed, he couldn't help but burst into tears. Lily loved Kurumi the most. Every time he took her out, he would buy her a Kurumi blind box. But now, only lifeless Kurumi plushes remained in the room. His daughter, who would sweetly call him dad, and lie in his arms watching TV, and playing games with him, was truly gone. In fact, not just Stella, even he still couldn't accept the reality that Lily had truly passed away. He wondered if one day, he would wake up and see her again, clutching his favorite plushie. He gradually fell asleep. Too much had happened in the past few days, pushing his body and mind to their limits. He truly needed some good rest. He saw Lily in his dream. He saw Caleb brutally beating Lily, treating her like a slave. What enraged him the most was the sight of Blake sexually assaulting Lily. Dad, hurry and save me, it hurts so much, Lily. He shot up from the bed, realizing he was drenched in sweat from fright. It was a dream, but the dream was so vivid, as if that's exactly how it had happened. He went to the bathroom, washed his face, and tried to calm down. He looked up at his reflection in the mirror, unshaven, his face etched with fatigue. He gave a bitter smile. He then made a firm decision. Regardless of whether the dream was real, he was sure the truth was close enough. Blake and Caleb would definitely be punished. Just then, officer called, saying the autopsy was complete. He quickly drove to the police station. We extracted male semen from the victim's body, and fingerprints were also found. Furthermore, investigations confirmed the DNA matched Blake and Caleb. Impossible. It absolutely couldn't have been Blake and Caleb. You police were bribed by Ethan, weren't you? I don't believe it. I am going to sue you. Stella completely refused to believe the evidence presented by the police. Causing a scene at the police station, he clenched his fists, suppressing his hatred. Stella, do you have a heart? If it weren't for you, if you hadn't sent Lily there, she wouldn't have been tortured, and she wouldn't have died. The evidence was clearly laid out before her, yet she still refused to believe it. At that moment, he suddenly felt a hint of gratitude. It was a good thing Lily couldn't hear these words. Otherwise, if she had, she would have been even more heartbroken. Stella's love for Blake was truly genuine, a love he, who had cherished her in his palm for nearly 10 years, could never obtain. Ms. Sue, if you continue to obstruct official duties like this, we have the right to detain you. The police were annoyed by Stella's disturbance and warned her. Stella finally shut her mouth, but her heaving chest still betrayed her anger and unease. They all sat in the waiting room. They were supposed to be the most intimate of couples, yet now they were at loggerheads, mutually repulsed. Perhaps they should never have been together in the first place. Soon, the police escorted Blake and Caleb into the police station. Seeing in handcuffs, Stella instantly lost her composure. How can you police just put handcuffs on people? Can you detain anyone indiscriminately? Don't they have human rights? As she spoke, she ran to Blake, hugging him and even trying to remove the handcuffs, but the police wouldn't indulge her, and immediately stopped her. Ethan, it's you, isn't it? I know you resent me, and Blake because of Lily's death, so you concocted a scheme to frame him, and called the police to arrest him. If you have a grievance, take it out on me, don't involve innocent people. Stella's loud shouting drew the attention of many, yet she, who always cared about her reputation, completely ignored them. Thankfully, the police stopped her and led them all into the interrogation room. Blake, confess honestly, how did you abuse Lily? Blake was a coward and simple-minded. He couldn't withstand the police interrogation, and confessed everything in less than an hour. It was Caleb who suggested playing with Lily. Stella, to curry favor with Blake, voluntarily sent Lily to Blake's house, and forced Lily to stay there, but was not normal. He was a super male who would destroy everything he desired. Caleb often beat Lily, treating her like a slave. As for Blake, He had been drinking that night, saw Lily who resembled Stella, and his inherent wickedness overshadowed his sobriety, leading him to sexually assault her. But how could a 6-year-old girl endure such abuse? The next morning, when Blake woke up, he found Lily covered in injuries. He was about to take her to the hospital when he ran into Ethan. Ethan painfully closed his eyes. He truly couldn't bear to imagine how desperate Lily must have been at that time. Upon hearing Blake's confession, Stella could no longer control herself, and broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. The thought of the inhuman torment Lily had suffered at the hands of Blake and Caleb made her feel utterly cold, her entire body aching as if invisible beasts were tearing at her. Every limb endured unbearable pain, her body involuntarily trembled, her limbs convulsed, and she couldn't help but let out cries of agony. The anger and hatred that had been suppressed deep within her slowly surfaced. Her fists were clenched tightly, like a bloodthirsty wolf's. No, it can't be. Blake, how could you lie to me? How could you treat my daughter like that? Go to hell. Stella suddenly lunged at Blake like a madwoman, her sharp nails on the verge of scratching his face. Fortunately, the police stopped her in time. Blake was startled. After realizing what had happened, he became enraged and started cursing. Stella, what the hell are you pretending about? Wasn't she the one you sent over? You don't even treat your own daughter like a human being, yet you expect us to be kind to her. You clearly knew Caleb had a bad temper, but you still didn't hesitate to send her to my house. You don't love her at all. What are you putting on a show for in front of me now? Don't you find it sickening? Your daughter must hate you. Do you know how wonderful she tasted? Ha 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 ha. Now I finally understand why so many people are pedophiles. She truly was beautiful. These disgusting words made Ethan's blood boil, and he uncontrollably swung his fist at Blake. Unfortunately, he only landed one punch. When he raised his fist again, the police stopped him. He glared at Blake, his eyes bloodshot, but Blake showed no fear. Ethan, you must be heartbroken. Ha 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 ha. I am happy when I see you suffer. It serves you right for always opposing me back in school. Even though he was about to be sentenced, Blake acted as if he had nothing to lose. Completely reckless, the police escorted him away, but before leaving, he was still cursing Ethan and Stella. He looked at Stella, who was slumped on the floor. Her current state was indeed concerning. Her hair was disheveled, her clothes disarrayed, and her face streaked with tears. If one hadn't heard her earlier words, an unknowing person might have thought she was a very loving mother. He truly didn't want to see her hypocritical act, nor did he want to deal with her, so he left first. Officer said they would transfer the relevant evidence to the prosecutor's office, and the verdict would be announced then. But you should be prepared. Blake's crimes are undeniable, but Caleb, after all, is only 7 years old and also has a condition, so the chances of him being sentenced are not high. Officer said these words to him with some difficulty. It seemed he also knew it was incredibly unfair. He patted Ethan's shoulder in a gesture of comfort. He lowered his head. How could he not know? But no matter what, he had to try. Even if the law couldn't punish Caleb, he would avenge his daughter in his own way. He wouldn't let him off the hook. He would repay Caleb for every single injury he inflicted on Lily, bit by bit. He absolutely wouldn't allow him to escape punishment. That would be too unfair to Lily. If the law couldn't deliver absolute justice, then he would do it himself. No rush. As long as Caleb wasn't in prison, Ethan had plenty of ways to deal with him. So what if he was a super-male? He was only 7, wasn't he? The immediate priority was Lily's funeral. He chose a prime, serene spot for Lily's grave. He also placed many Korami plushes in front of the tombstone. With there, Lily wouldn't be scared underground, would she? Even more heartbroken by this reality were the 4 grandparents. Both and Stella were only children, and Lily was the grandparents' only grandchild. They had always cherished and doted on her like a precious treasure. Upon suddenly learning that their beloved granddaughter had been abused to death, they almost fainted from crying. Stella also came to Lily's funeral. After a few days, she looked even more gaunt. Her hair was messy, her face pale, and there was no trace of her previous pampered appearance. Dad, Mom, shut up. I don't have a daughter like you. To be so heartless to your own child. Has your conscience been eaten by dogs? Stella was interrupted by her mother-in-law as soon as she opened her mouth. After learning the truth, Stella's parents were utterly disappointed in their own daughter. It was one thing to be clueless about small matters, but to commit such a heinous mistake, killing her own child, was truly unforgivable. Stella probably knew she was guilty, so she lowered her head and stopped speaking, just quietly weeping, looking very sorrowful. Watching her sorrowful appearance, Ethan could only feel annoyance and anger. She was the culprit who caused Lily's death, so who was she putting on this act of a loving mother for now? Lily had endured too much disappointment from her mother during her lifetime. She didn't need this belated love. It was utterly meaningless. Meanwhile, when Ethan and Stella had argued outside the police station, the explosive nature of their dispute might have been filmed by passers-by and posted online. After a few days of fermentation and reposts by social media accounts, the topic reached a peak in popularity, attracting significant attention from netizens. Moreover, such a story spread quickly within the city. Many residents in the neighborhood knew what had recently happened to Ethan's family. Whenever he walked on the street, he would more or less receive sympathetic or gossipy glances. Such looks made him extremely uncomfortable, but he knew Stella would feel even worse than him. If the gazes directed at him were benevolent, then for her, they would be malicious. As the culprit behind her own daughter's death, she couldn't shed the title of wicked mother. Of course, it wasn't just her. Caleb was also involved. Due to the immense impact of the incident, Caleb had already been expelled from school. Online condemnation of the super-male child also grew increasingly loud. Naturally, Ethan had fueled this outrage. Blake was about to be sentenced, and Caleb's mother had disappeared a few years ago. If no relatives were willing to adopt him, he might be sent to an orphanage. But what orphanage would take in such a ticking time bomb? Watching the online curses against Blake and Caleb, Ethan felt a sense of satisfaction, yet still, sadness. This was exchanged for Lily's life. However, just as everything was about to settle, the police made a significant discovery. They suspected that Blake's ex-wife, Caleb's mother, had not simply disappeared, but had been murdered, and after so long without finding a body, it was highly likely she had been brutally dismembered. Subsequently, the police searched Blake's house. Finally, after draining all the water from the neighborhood, they found fragments of Blake's wife's body. Once this case was announced, it caused a huge uproar. No one expected such a major murder case to be uncovered. Now, Blake and Caleb, including Stella, became pariahs, universally condemned. Everyone had already included Stella as an accomplice. Ethan was also very surprised, but quickly realized that this meant Blake's chances of receiving the death penalty were very high. It was a piece of good news. Lily, Dad will be able to avenge you soon. Just wait a little longer. Ethan, let's have a meal together. I have something to tell you. Ethan was somewhat surprised that he would still receive a call from Stella. He actually didn't want to go, but his attitude was too firm, as if it truly was something important. He still went. Stella had shed her previous dejection and gauntness. Her complexion was good, and she was even dressed elegantly, as if she had already emerged from her grief. Do you remember this place? Where we had our first date? Hearing this, his expression turned cold. What do you mean by this? We're at this point, and you think I am in the mood to reminisce about the past with you? He truly couldn't figure out what she was trying to do. The meal passed in silence. They were supposed to be the closest two people, yet their relationship ended in such an ugly manner. Ethan, after this meal, we won't see each other again. In the past, I wronged you and Lily. I know I am the one responsible for my daughter's death, and I'll repay you for it. From now on, I'll have to trouble you to take care of my parents. His heart skipped a beat, as if foreboding that something bad was about to happen. He wanted to know what Stella was going to do, but she didn't give him a chance to ask. Simply turning and leaving, he watched her retreating back, his brows furrowed in silent thought. After that day, he never heard from Stella again. Her phone was unreachable, as if she had vanished without a trace. It wasn't until a week later that officer called him, saying Stella had kidnapped Caleb. He quickly rushed to the scene. It was an abandoned building, and Stella and Caleb were currently on the rooftop. Standing not far away, he saw Caleb's appearance. He was covered in blood, with wounds big and small all over his body. Most horrifyingly, his genitals had been severed, and it was clear who had done it. The police immediately tried to persuade Stella to come down, but how could they succeed? She was clearly determined. Ethan, I've avenged Lily. Stella shouted at him, the knife in her hand accurately piercing Caleb's neck. The police tried to shoot to stop her, but it was too late. Blood gushed forth, not only Caleb's but also Stella's. It turned out the bullet had still hit her. Caleb died on the spot. Stella was taken to the hospital, but resuscitation efforts were unsuccessful. Please, take care of my parents for me. These were the last words she spoke to him. Okay. Having received his promise, Stella closed her eyes, seemingly at peace. She was dead. Something seemed to stream down his face, with tears. Stella had treated him this way. She was dead. He shouldn't be sad. Why was he crying? In just 1 month, he had lost 2 important people, family shattered, home destroyed was a true reflection of his life. The incident of Stella killing Caleb naturally became a trending topic. However, most people believed it was their retribution. Many people online expressed sympathy for him, saying he was truly unfortunate. Well, he also thought he was pitiable. Just a month ago, he had a happy family and a sweet, adorable daughter. Lily was supposed to start elementary school soon. He could have helped her with her homework, picked her up, and dropped her off at school every day, and raised her safely. How could things have turned out this way? He sat on the sofa, looking at the empty house, and finally couldn't hold back, breaking down in tears. On the bed was Lily's favorite doll, and in the kitchen, Lily's special small bowl. Looking at these furnishings, it was as if his daughter had never left him. She had just gone to school and would be home soon, but to his horror, he found he couldn't even deceive himself anymore. Ethan's mind was filled with images of Grace's death. Suddenly, I wanted to numb myself with alcohol. I called up a good friend, Liam, and asked him to come drink with me. I poured drink after drink down my throat, as if only that could soothe the pain in my heart. Each sip of alcohol made me choke back tears. I coughed for a long time, head bowed, then took another sip, coughing again, as if my very heart were being torn out. Ethan, don't drink anymore. Don't ruin your health. Lily would worry about you, even from heaven. Liam tried to comfort me. Of course, I knew Lily never liked me drinking. Whenever she saw me smoke or drink, she would gently cling to me, and sweetly tell me it was bad for my health, and I should do less of it. Usually, I would listen to her, then stroke her head and tell her how good she was. But such moments would never happen again. The court's verdict finally came down. Blake was sentenced to death, to be executed immediately, but he said he wanted to see me. I hesitated for a moment, but I went to see him anyway. Ethan, you must be so proud. Huh. I've been sentenced to death, and my son was killed by that bitch Stella. You must be thrilled, right? Blake's face was contorted with rage. If he hadn't been restrained by handcuffs, I feared he would have lunged at me and killed me. Thrilled. If all of this was built upon my daughter's death, I would only feel profound grief. None of this ever had to happen. Suddenly, I felt a sense of emptiness. What was I doing here, seeing Blake? He hated me so much. He was just trying to twist the knife. He was going to die anyway. I turned and walked away, pretending not to hear Blake's curses and insults. Days passed, and my life seemed to return to normal. The fervor around the incident gradually subsided. Everyone else seemed to forget, but I still periodically found myself immersed in grief. Everyone urged me to sell the house and start a new life, but I refused. If I sold this house, it would erase every trace of my daughter's existence. If I lost even this last connection, I truly wouldn't have the courage to go on living. Despite this, I still put on a normal front for my elderly relatives, and often went back to visit them. My elderly relatives were getting old, and I couldn't add to their burdens. But perhaps I would never truly escape this shadow in my lifetime.